I wanted to get your
Good morning.
timeline for the nuclear plants. Are they still on track? Is 2022 still going to be the goal?
Yeah, 2021 for the first Unit 3, and 2022, November of each year, will be the second unit. We're making great progress on the construction. Yeah.
And in terms of cost, because that has been pushed back by 5 years to begin with, and there has been some cost overruns. Southern Company's part of that cost is about $7.3 billion, about half of which has already been spent. Is that still the cap for how much you guys are looking to spend?
That is the amount that has been authorized by regulators in Georgia to be spent, and we are well on our way with a target of achieving that and the schedule as well. So we're making great progress on the project, and all of our key milestones are being met. So we are cautiously optimistic that we are going to make that schedule. What's your biggest hurdle to that deadline? Well, the biggest hurdle is getting, it's execution. We've got all the equipment on site, and it's a matter of executing our plan, working with our contractors to make sure that we meet every week the outlined jobs that we have targeted to meet the entire schedule. So it's a day-to-day process in producing the outcomes that we expect, and that's the metrics that we'll follow and that we'll communicate with the street. As a business as a whole, and in particular this project, where might you see costs starting to rise? Well, in terms of equipment, all of that has been procured already, so we're less exposed to, say, the inflation cost of materials, of commodities. Primarily what we're focused on now is labor and productivity of that labor. So we're exposed a little bit there, but we think we've got a great path forward, and we're well on our way to achieving those cost targets. How much would you anticipate your unit labor costs rising? Well, it's hard to say. Again, there's been a little bit of pressure on wage labor costs. We'll certainly have to address that as we move through, but there are contingencies in our cost estimates, so we think we're well within those dollar amounts that we can achieve those targets. And then for a broader look at Southern Company, as you're sort of leaning towards retirement, I'm sure if you could go back and rethink where we were in the utility space, it'd be all about natural gas and less about nuclear. How is Southern Company going to position itself for that going forward? Well, I think, in my 42 years at Southern Company, I've seen a lot of change. Certainly, we've moved away from coal. We've built nuclear. And I think as we look forward to the next 10 years, we're going to see a path towards lower carbon. We've already made a commitment to low to no carbon by 2050. We think there'll be more renewables, more solar in the southeast, more wind that will need some transmission be built in order to access that from other areas of the country. We're certainly completing the nuclear units here in Georgia, which are no carbon emitting assets. We'll work with energy efficiency, and certainly an important part, the last part, would be additional R&D in order to make sure that we can capture carbon and do other efforts in concert with other companies to find newer ways to deal with the issue. First Energy Solutions has been in the headlines recently, basically asking the government to bail out nuclear and coal plants. Do you agree with that? Should the government be doing that? Well, we think that those assets are certainly important. We think that the merchant markets don't value those assets as they should be valued. And so, when I think about it here in the Southeast, we certainly we got a different regulatory regime, but it certainly puts more value on baseload assets and the value that they bring in toto to the equation. I don't think that the merchant markets truly value the inherent value of those nuclear assets over time.